artificial intelligence versus human advisors, the conversation is almost always framed like a competition, like a matchup. But this analysis is going to look at it differently. Not as a question of who's smarter, but as a comparison between two completely different systems for making decisions.
The question you always hear is pretty simple. Who's smarter? Is a machine smarter than an experienced person? And, while that's a really common way to frame it, it kind of misses the point. It hides what's really going on underneath.
Because really, this is the wrong question to be asking. Framing it as a contest of pure intelligence just doesn't get us to the heart of the matter.
The real meaningful comparison isn't about intelligence at all. It's about their decision structures. So the question we should be asking is which system, the human one or the AI-assisted one, gives us more reliable outcomes when it's operating out in the real world with all its messiness?
So to figure that out, we first have to understand what we're actually comparing. We need to break down the core mechanics of these two very different decision structures.
All right, first up is the human advisor. This system is built on a foundation of professional experience, of intuition, of judgment. And its biggest strengths are things like understanding context and, well, being accountable. But it's also held back by some real constraints, things like cognitive biases, getting tired, and just a simple fact that a human can only process a pretty small amount of data at one time.
Now, the AI advisor, that's a totally different kind of system. Think of it as a decision support system. It works by sifting through massive data sets, modeling tons of different scenarios, and finding patterns that a human observer would probably never even see. Its whole game is built on speed, scale, and being incredibly consistent.
And when you put their core mechanics side by side, the differences are just, well, they're fundamental. The human system thinks step by step, sequentially. It's driven by intuition, it's influenced by emotion, and it's limited by the capacity of our working memory. The AI system, on the other hand, evaluates tons of options all at once, in parallel. It's driven by probabilities, and it's constrained only by the objectives we give.
Okay, but any system can fail. So a real analysis has to look at how they break down. We need to understand the unique ways each of these structures fails, their specific biases and sources of error.
We know the human system is vulnerable to a long list of well-documented cognitive biases. Things like overconfidence can make us take on way too much risk, while loss aversion can make us way too cautious. The end result of all these biases is advice that's inconsistent and, frankly, often unpredictable.
Now, AI systems have biases too, but they're a completely different kind. They're technical problems, not cognitive ones. If you feed an AI biased data, you're going to get biased results. If you give it a poorly defined goal, it's going to optimize for the wrong thing. These are, at their core, engineering challenges.
And this brings us to a really critical distinction. Human bias is often invisible to the person making the decision. It just feels like intuition. It's emotional and inconsistent. AI bias, on the other hand, is a systematic error. It's visible, you can inspect it, and because of that, you can audit it and hopefully correct it.
Now let's add another layer to this: pressure. What happens when the stakes are high? How these two systems perform under stress tells us a lot about their overall value. When humans are under stress, the quality of our decisions tends to go down. We start using mental shortcuts instead of deep analysis. Our tolerance for risk can swing all over the place. An AI system, though, its performance stays consistent. Its logic doesn't care about market volatility. Its output is stable as long as the data going in is good.
And this really highlights a core principle when you're thinking about systems. A human advisor might have these amazing moments of brilliant intuition, right? But a system that delivers consistent, high-quality analysis, day in and day out, is just more reliable in the long run, especially as things get bigger and more complex.
And that idea of scale leads us right into the economics of these two systems. It raises some really big questions about who can get access to high-quality advice and what it costs.
When you look at the economics, the differences are huge. The best human advisors are expensive. Their time is limited, and it's really hard to scale their expertise. Plus, the quality of advice you get from different humans can vary a lot. AI systems, though, the cost to serve one more person is nearly zero. They're always on, you can scale them infinitely, and they provide a consistent baseline of quality for every single user.
So let's be really clear about the economic implication here. AI doesn't democratize wisdom or ethical judgment. What it democratizes is access to high-quality, data-driven decision support. It gives a huge number of people an analytical power that used to be reserved for a very small few.
All of this analysis, the mechanics, the failure modes, the economics, it doesn't lead to choosing one over the other. It leads to a synthesis. It points toward an integrated model, a superior system.
You see, the debate isn't really AI versus humans. That's a distraction. The real productive comparison is between a human working alone versus a human who is augmented by an AI decision support system. And if you look at history, augmented systems almost always outperform the non-augmented ones.
So the optimal decision system seems to be one that integrates both. You have the AI doing what it does best, scaled analysis, complex modeling, spitting out data-driven probabilities. And then you have the human providing what is absolutely irreplaceable, that layer of judgment, of ethical oversight, and, at the end of the day, accountability.
Think of it this way. AI is a tool. It's a very powerful tool that changes how decisions are prepared. It can give us better information and clearer options, but it doesn't change who is responsible for the consequences of a choice. That responsibility is and remains fundamentally human. This channel explains money, artificial intelligence, and decision-making as interconnected systems. No hype, no gurus, no personal branding. New videos weekly.